And that's what we're going to get into, the strategies that help you rewrite your story, seeing every setback as a setup to become stronger, more empowered, seeing the lessons in what you've gone through, taking those lessons to prevent some negative future events, and speak to that little girl or boy and build that little girl or boy up. And now you get to help that inner child. And then the inner critic starts to change, operating from a healed place. I talked about the healed place in the last episode with the woman at the well. And when Jesus spoke into her, he exposed her issues to help her, not to condemn her, but to help her. He brought up a word of knowledge. This is how you start building trust with your voice and realizing, I got something of substance to somebody. What I say matters to somebody. And you feel more bold to say, to speak more. And you don't always mess up stuff. Why do you think you always? And you'll find out when you do the work of putting your thoughts on trial, it may be 2 or 3 incidents where something happened and it didn't go well. But then you gotta, again, the reason why it's a lie, because you go deeper and say, but why did I mess that up? Maybe you didn't have enough information.
You can still get your life back. Get your life back. It's real. Get your life back. Get your life back.
Hey guys, you are here again. I'm so glad. Yeah. Okay. Tell your friends, your neighbors, family members and associates that you watch this lady who snack and eat on her podcast. I went to pick up my birthday gifts. That's what I did yesterday. My birthday was on May 12th. And I went around to a few restaurants to get my free giveaways, my gift. And it's coming. Welcome to the next life class, right? I've been call them life purpose classes or whatever. And if you watched the last episode where I was talking about being quenched, having those unmet needs, that place of thirst and deficit and unhealed place, you becomes healed and satisfied and all that good stuff. And I used a comparison of the story of Jesus meeting the Samaritan woman at the well and how awesome that is, and how he met her at her place of need, meeting her deepest need and fulfilling her. She found fulfillment and meaning in life and went back and told everybody about it. So anyway, and I had mentioned in that episode that talk about how to reframe and redirect negative thoughts and beliefs, because I brought up how when you've gone through things and you experience trauma and how that impacts the way you see things, and it even impacts how you respond and how you talk, a lot of times how you communicate. And subconsciously, you can be communicating negative, poor, unhelpful thoughts because of that thinking. Because of something that happened in your life. Let's see, how can I put this? Happened in your life that influenced the way you perceive, the way you process things that happen to you, situations or information, and it can have a negative impact. And sometimes you don't know that you're doing that. And you just wondering, how come nobody understands? Now, sometimes you can just be different and be a philosopher by nature, and you have these good, deep thoughts. But we're talking about when you have unhelpful thinking and thoughts, and then it affects the way you talk. So you have these unfruitful things that you say that they don't produce nothing but negative responses from others and negative feelings within yourself because of an unhealed place and some unaddressed areas in your life, but you don't even realize it, So anyway, I want to talk about that today. So I have brought up how we can learn to reframe things. We can learn to redirect those thoughts and poor communication that we have. And it'll change the way you feel about yourself. And it'll change the way you treat other people. It'll change the way you perceive things. But it starts with you using or implementing positive talk. It will cancel out all the negativity. And so, but you have to get into the practice of doing this every day. It's almost like a person who comes to Christ, they're a new believer, they're a Christian. And instead of saying a lot of things that they say, they start saying what the word says. And then they come in alignment with what the word says. Their spirit, their minds, their emotions, everything is in alignment. So now we become representatives of God's word. We start living it, and we start exemplifying and manifesting and representing the kingdom. So that's a transformation that happens to people who who become believers. Okay. And so see it like that. And today, and I said a lot of the next couple of episodes you see, I'm definitely going to be utilizing the framework that I create to kind of take you through or give you some strategies to help you, because I'm also going to utilize some of these videos in my academy, Get Your Life Back Academy, where I have coaching courses that help people enhance their quality of life, excuse me, y'all, and help them with particular issues, right? And also, I have courses on udemy.com, and I'm going to use maybe 1 or 2 of these videos for my courses that I have there as well. But anyway, today's episode is really going to be, and I gave it a title, Reframe and Redirecting. Anyway, I'm just putting that there. That's just like a little subheading, as you can say subheading. Reframing and redirecting. Reframe and redirect self-defeating thoughts and language. And you have to put some work in to do that, because you basically rewiring your brain, rewiring your mindset, the way you speak, the way you think, the way you feel. And when they all come in alignment, you create these new neural pathways in your brain, in your mind, where, because you change the language of things and how you see things, and you start speaking the opposite of that, then you create new thoughts. This is how you start to think healthier and think with helpful thoughts. And it cancels out all the negative, unhelpful, unfruitful, unproductive thought pattern that you have, and then you'll start to feel different, right? That's basically like CBT 101, cognitive behavioral therapy. Change the way you think, you change the way you behave, basically, right? Because now you're thinking differently. So it makes sense. Like, okay, well, I don't think that way anymore. When I was thinking negative and unhelpful thoughts, things that just didn't materialize anything positive, I saw the manifestation of that. I saw the results of that. But when I started building my own self-confidence and started speaking healthy and started seeing my own value and speaking more positive about things and seeing the glass half full and turning lemons into lemonade and all those things, then my reality changed. And I started having healthier relationships, and I started speaking more positive. Therefore, I had more helpful things to say, and then it would cause or build me up to the degree where I start engaging in more positive experiences, because I see things different now. When I think negative, I have negative experiences. I have negative friendships or relationships, dysfunctional stuff. But now that I'm functional and I'm healthy, I don't want that stuff. I want things that flourish, because I'm flourishing. So then I start to attract all these things. Okay, real quick. So let's get into this whole thing now. So it's important to change your language, because if you don't, those are big barriers to your comeback. But if you can change those thoughts that you have, because it's those thoughts that was holding you back. But once you change them, then you have set yourself up for your greatest comeback. It happens all the time. Like, wow, because of this thought, I stopped myself from moving forward. I held myself back from that promotion, that next level, that healthy relationship of a person that seemed like they are so well put together, but because of my own thought life or my pattern of thinking, I started sabotaging relationship. And then now I miss out on a good man, a good woman. If you're a man, a good opportunity. because the lens I was looking through or communicating through was negative, was poor. My sight wasn't good, wasn't seeing clearly, was irrational, reactive, emotional in a negative way, operating from an emotional mind instead of my wise mind, instead of a healthy mind, instead of a rational mind. Let's keep going. Imagine taking those self-defeating beliefs, the ones that say, I'm not good enough. I always mess up things. I'm too slow. I'm too this. I'm too that. And turning them into fuel for your success. Today, we're talking about the power of reframing and redirecting. That's what we're going to talk about today. It's all about shifting your perspective, as I always say, and shifting your perception, how you believe, what you think is happening. But it's not always that you're right, because that thinking is coming from a stinking place that is not healthy. And because you went through some things, and if you haven't touched or healed or addressed those areas of trauma, then you will go about in your life with this stinking thinking. And you, in your mind, you will convince yourself that you are right. And you would sometimes think it's God. No, it's not. It's coming from an unhealthy place. You just created a narrative and some negative core beliefs. That's what negative core beliefs are. You believe what you're saying is right, but it's not if it's from these unhealthy places, but you convince yourself that you're right. This is why therapy and coaching can help you. And then once the light turns on, oh my God, you come into this new way of believing, the right way of believing, a healthy way to believe and to think and everything. Okay? So you take a shift in your perspective. And what's wonderful about all of that is that you get to reauthor the rest of your life. You get to rewrite. And that's what reframing and redirecting is. Rewriting your story, right? It's not saying that what you've gone through, you hadn't gone through, but you get to, with the new language and the new mindset, you tell it differently. It's not the woe is me. It's like, okay, I've gone through that, but, and, or therefore, however, you get to put those into place. The and, the conjunctions, okay? Because now you're moving into a positive space. Like, I don't have to stay, it's almost like saying, I don't have to stay stuck there. That did happen to me. I did do that, or they did that to me. However, I am going to make it. I am going to create change. I am going to think differently about this. This can turn around for my good. This can work for me. This can be the catalyst that catapult me to my destiny. You see, even that, I took what happened to me that was negative, put a positive spin on it basically, which is going to change the way I feel, and it's going to give me a different outlook, basically. That's simple. But you're doing the framework, and that's where we're going to get into the strategies that help you rewrite your story, seeing every setback as a setup to become stronger, more empowered, seeing the lessons in what you've gone through, taking those lessons to prevent some negative future events because you know better, or because you're healed now, right? Now you're empowered. Now you're wiser. And you're thinking from a wise mind. There's the balance of your emotions and thoughts in the wise mind, okay? Now you have the empowerment to change that narrative, to retell the story in a different way. You can take the control, or take control of your language, take control of your thinking, your thoughts. You're managing those thoughts. You're managing your emotions now, because now you are empowered, because you are utilizing these strategies that I'm about to give you as well. Okay? You take use of the new language and thoughts, okay? And put them into use for the betterment of you. You get to transform the obstacles and opportunities and failures into valuable lessons. It's time for you to live, beloved. It's time for you to live. I don't have that part written down, but I thought about that when I said that. But what I do have is time for you to rise above self-defeat. Okay? You're going to silence that inner critic. That's how you rise above that. Because we can be our what? Our worst critic because of trauma. See, so we need to take it, because we always say that, but then we got to, where's the inner critic coming from? It could come from maybe you never had anybody to affirm you and confirm you, to speak good things into your life, to see the values inside of you. Maybe you've been abandoned, you experienced some rejection. A whole number of things could have happened to you. And because of that, you was never really affirmed in as a child. So the little child in you needs to be confirmed and affirmed. So part of your work is speaking to the little child, the little girl, little boy in you that was either abandoned and not cultivated, right? You're getting to do the work now. There's an exercise, it's called the empty chair. There's another name for it. The empty chair method, where you take a chair and imagine the little girl or boy in you, and you say to that boy or girl the things that you say the things that should have been said to you, or that you didn't get to hear, that would have changed the way you see yourself or saw yourself, and it would have built you up, and you would have been that confident person with esteem, and you would have took positive opportunities that came to you. You would have taken those opportunities. You would have stretched out to do certain things with confidence if these things were said to you. So you get to say these things to your inner self, that little girl or little boy. So if you can think, you can try that. You can think of some positive affirmations or things that if someone said these things to you, you would have been at a better place. You would have had better relationships in your life. You would have saw things in a better way, in a positive light, instead of a negative light or pessimistic view. But because you didn't get it, you can build yourself up now, but you may have to go back to that age, those stages of development, and speak to that little girl or boy and build that little girl or boy up. And now you get to help that inner child. And then the inner critic starts to change. Okay. So that is an exercise that's used a lot of times in therapy. Anyway, so silencing the inner critic and step boldly into a new chapter that you get to reauthor and rewrite. Okay. And this is part of the framework. You're reframing, you're redirecting, and you're rewriting your story. So we're going to dive into it right now. So I got some prompts that I wrote. I'm calling it my coaching prompts. And this is stuff I do in real sessions that help people when dealing with these type of issues, right? So we're going to talk about, and this is going to be a quick episode, really. We'll see what happens, because you know how things can just take on another light within itself, a life of its own, and turn into a longer session. I'm going to keep this short. Consider this your session right now, teaching you how to reframe and redirect, reauthor, rewrite your story. But it's mostly going to focus on reflection, rewriting, and reframing, okay? So this is the application. You're going to set small goals, number one. This is a small goal. These are small steps you can do right now, and that's exactly what I mean, that you can start to see some change and some transformation. So let's start. Rewrite your story exercise. You're going to write down your story. Maybe something you can think about, a pain point you have, that you encounter, something that you encounter that caused some kind of emotional, psychological pain in your life. You're going to write down the lessons. I want you to look at the story, what you've gone through, the traumatic story or traumatic event. See if you can pull out lessons from it. First, you got to build yourself up. I already gave you the first exercise where you are going to talk to the young girl or the young boy, the child or the adolescent, and you're going to speak life into that child. You're going to speak life. You're going to speak affirmation. So you're building that young little girl, a broken boy, a broken girl inside of you, and you're going to build that person up, right? then as you build that person up, you'll start to see the lessons that can come out of that. Something you've learned from that pain. That's what we do in life a lot of times anyway. And then how you can use those experiences to help somebody else. And that's what we do, right? We see, remember I talked earlier about whatever you've gone through, and you change the language about it, and you change the way you retell the story. But you can also see how what you've gone through can help somebody else. Isn't that what we do? Isn't that what I'm doing now? Or what I do on my podcast? I share some of the things I've gone through and what I learned from it, and how God helped me and how I help myself with strategy that come from a place of empowerment. And then I created this channel as one method to help you by giving you these strategies. I share stories of how I overcome certain things, how I was able to dig myself out of a situation, and then share them with other people, even in my sessions. And they go, oh my God, you've been through that? People are amazed with how you overcome. And that's what you're doing. And when you do it, though, you can actually feel you getting stronger as well. It's just such an awesome feeling, because it's like you're serving other people and you're serving yourself at the same time. By you retelling your story, I had a little breakdown on the last episode, and I mean in a good way, where I started crying because I was reflecting as I was sharing some pain points in my life. And I was also sharing where I remembered where I started getting affirmations about who God called me to be. And it hit me while I was sharing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting emotional. I need to get off this thing. So you got to go watch that episode. It was really, really good. It gave me like another sense of revival in my own spirit. And that's what happens. You get a revival as you retell. You start to see the lessons in it. And then, because sometimes lessons are, we're not going to repeat maybe there's some behavior a behavioral pattern that you saw, and you realize if I change that behavior pattern, I will no longer experience that negative type of event because I've changed something. I had a transformation. I know I made that all along. Anyway, but you can use those experiences to help other people. Let me give an example of reframing something. Instead of saying I was abandoned, right? Because I talked about being abandoned, being rejected, whatever. You might want to change that. Now, I'm not saying you're not acknowledging what you've gone through. Absolutely. But this is just an example of reframing, because sometimes the word abandoned may trigger a negative response in you. So in order to combat that negative response of feeling triggered, this is how you dismantle the negative emotions that come behind being triggered or activated in a negative way. So you may say, instead of saying I was abandoned, you may reframe it to, I am learning how to set healthy boundaries and cultivate fulfilling connections, right? Because abandonment means a deficit, a lack of a healthy connection or attachment to someone, whether it's a parent, a guardian, a loved one, something. So instead of saying they abandoned me, they left me, unless it depends on what what you're doing, because you may be sharing your story with people saying how you felt. But I'm just teaching you right now in this moment how to change those negative words that you said to yourself that keep bringing up negative feelings, and they help you start feeling crummy all over again, and then you start to relive that negative experience. I'm trying to teach you how to combat that, okay? Not to keep reliving it over and over and over again, because you can't move forward. So you're saying, I am learning how to set healthy boundaries and cultivate a fulfilling or more fulfilling connections in my life. Another example, for those who feel like they procrastinate, instead of saying, I always procrastinate and self-sabotage opportunities. That's okay for a moment if you're trying to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay, that's part of the work. But now you're going to learn to reframe it. You acknowledged it, you're self-aware, but you want change. Here you go. Here's the reframe. I am becoming more aware of the habits that hold me back. And I'm learning how to take small, consistent steps toward my goals. So you're learning. You see, these are lessons. I'm giving you examples on what it looks like to grab the lesson from that pain point, that pain, that issue, that pattern of behavior that no longer, it doesn't serve you. It never served you, actually. So now you're serving yourself by reframing. You want me to say that again? For those who have an issue with procrastinating and self-sabotage, here's an example. You can come up with your own as well. Instead of saying, I procrastinate, I self-sabotage everything, you can say, I am learning, or I am becoming more aware of those habits or those patterns that hold me back, that behavior that hold me back. I am aware that I'm doing that now. And I'm learning how to take small steps, consistent steps, because you're doing the work toward my goal of not self-sabotaging and no longer procrastinating. You getting it? Get the wisdom. Okay, let's do another reframe. I am in the process. This is for the same issue of procrastinating and self-sabotage. I am in the process, right? Because you realize you're doing the work now, right? You're applying the strategies. I am in the process of developing strategies to manage my time, right? For those who deal with procrastination, battle with procrastination, you're developing strategies to manage your time. This way, see, this what this does is takes out the shame and the guilt that comes along with saying, seeing the pattern of procrastination. So this is part of healing, by the way. You're healing so it no longer has that negative, intense shame and guilt feeling. Like I said, that negative experience that keep coming up because you keep seeing this pattern. Now you're accepting it, but you're reframing it and you're healing. So it takes away that triggering, that activation feeling. And now because you see progression, you're embracing the progress. You're embracing production in your own life. You're embracing what's manifesting because you're doing this work. Do you get that wisdom? This is so good. It's small steps like this, small things like this, methods and interventions that help people change their life for the better. Okay? That's what I'm excited about, because I know it's helping somebody. Because somebody do need to change the way they are thinking, the way they are responding, the way they are behaving. Okay, let's go back. Developing strategies to manage my time and focus so I can seize new opportunities with confidence. Because you're healing now. You're seeing your value. You're seeing the lessons, and the lessons are helping you to grow. And now that you're growing emotionally, you're emotionally maturing, you're mentally healing, and emotionally healing, you're building a sense of confidence and self-esteem. So now you won't shun or avoid opportunities. You bring them on. You invite them. Because now you're operating from a healed place. I talked about the healed place in the last episode with the woman at the well. And when Jesus spoke into her, he exposed her issues to help her, not to condemn her, but to help her. He brought up a word of knowledge, which is a gift that God used in a lot of his children. That somebody, especially with somebody you don't know, or somebody who don't know you, but God give them a word of knowledge, something about you that only God would know. And so you know that he's using that person right now. The purpose of the spiritual gifts, as I mentioned in the last episode, is to build each other up. That's all they for. Okay? For those of you who think you are something because God used you. No. The gift is to build somebody else up. The gift is to serve other people. Just in case you forgot and you're only serving yourself and thinking you're all of that because you have this spiritual gifting. I'm here to address you. So you need to humble yourself if that's you, and remember that the gifts are to help other people. Okay? All right. Just want to make that clear. So that was a word of correction. Okay? Direct communication, but for somebody who needs to hear that. Okay, let me go. But that was kind of like my pastoral hat, but I'm going to get back into my coaching hat. All right. That was some reframing. Seizing new opportunities with confidence. Here's another example of reframing for those of you who tell yourself you're not good enough. I am not educated enough. No, I'm sorry. I'm not educated enough. I do have that too. I'm not educated enough to do that. I don't know enough. It's like when you keep saying that, you stop yourself from learning. You can learn. You can read. You can go to school. You can be around smart people in a room. You can watch podcasts like this one episode and learn some strategies, learn things about yourself, help you to provoke thought in you, invoke thought in you. So you can kind of like, wow, okay, let me go back to the little girl and little boy and see, why do I always say these things? And then when you realize, oh, nobody said them to me. I never had anybody build me up. I never had anybody see my value or encourage me or compliment me on anything. That's why I'm negative. That's why I have a hard time celebrating other people in their success and their achieving their goals. Because I didn't have that for myself. But when you start to do this work, you can do that now. You can acknowledge somebody else's achievement because you see your own values. Now you have confidence and self-esteem and believe that I can grow. I can educate myself. I can read. If I don't know how to read, because that can be the root cause. Talked about that in the last episode. Sometimes the reason why you got to go back, because you got to go back to the deficit. Oh, I never learned how to read, or I dropped out of school, or I wasn't allowed to go to school because I had to work. And whatever your story is, right? But now realize there are tools out here to teach you how to read. But you have to change your language and not stay stuck in, I don't know enough. I'm not educated enough. Guess what? You can get educated. I dropped out of the 10th grade. Now, I never had a problem with reading, but still, dropping out of the 10th grade, I missed out on a lot academic-wise as you move up. In school, you learn new things. You learn what they call bigger words, but you broaden your vocabulary. Because you read some books, you read textbooks, you read articles, you read scholastic articles, you do research. So school teaches you how to think deeper about things, how to critically think about things. Oh, I have my little tissue there. Drink some of my little hot drink here. I'm sorry, guys. But teaches you how to think critically about things, how to go beyond what a person is saying and what is being read. You learning how to think. You learning how to comprehend, which helps you to read. Help you to read something within its context. But anyway, I hope that helps somebody. So I want you to be encouraged by this. So instead of saying, I'm not educated enough to help others, here's the reframe. I may not have formal education in this area, but I have valuable life experiences and insights that can inspire and guide others. So what you're doing is speaking life to yourself. Positive belief system you're developing right now to go against that negative core belief that you have and that you just spoke out of your mouth. You're changing it. And not only changing it, okay, maybe you didn't finish school or you don't know how to read or whatever the case is. It's hard for you to learn. You got maybe a learning disability. Whatever it is, there are tools that can help you. But first you got to be open to change. So this is what reframing does. It creates it creates a sense of possibility in you. It gives you a sense of hope because you're reframing the way you speak and the way you think. And what that does is it lends you the opportunity for change and thinking that you can change and thinking that your reality can change. You're rewriting, you're reauthoring the rest of your life. You're taking what happened before, you either changing it, you're changing the narrative of what you told yourself. That we're doing a lot of work here, by the way. You don't understand how deep this thing goes. It may look like it's little, but it's addressing a lot of stuff, a lot of issues that come up for you. Because I'm telling you, when you start doing this type of stuff, it's going to affect other areas of your life. Taking these small steps. And that's all I'm saying to you. Come on, this stuff is good. This is stuff I did with my own self. But yeah, I dropped out of 10th grade, high school. Yeah, I went back. I'm actually in a doctoral degree program. Can you believe it? So I ain't gonna start now. I cried on the other episode. I'm not gonna get mushy on here because I didn't forget where God brought me from. And I didn't forget the work that I did, the confidence I built up to even believe that I can go back. The audacity of me going back to school. Who told me that I can go back and get a high school diploma? Who told me I can get a GED, an associate's, a bachelor degree, 2 master degrees? Who told me I can go back and get a doctoral degree? God told me I can do that. There were words that were spoken over my life. Affirmation, confirmation, God's word. That was in the last episode, right? But I think I talked about it here too, right? All of these things built me up, surrounding myself around other women who were progressive in life and doing things and educated. Because now, remember, I did my work. So now I feel confident and I got some self-esteem that tells me now I got hope. I see possibilities. I can go back to school. I can take some GED classes. Let me start from the beginning. I'm going to rewrite the rest of my story because somebody probably felt like I wasn't going to go any further. But I changed my narrative and I changed my language and the thoughts and those negative self-defeating beliefs and started believing. And then I felt like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. I lived it and I'm living it. Oh, this is getting good, y'all. I'm sorry. This is good. Okay, The reframe is, we're talking about those of you who feel like you're not educated enough and you don't have enough knowledge. Another reframe is, I am committed to continuous learning and growing in my knowledge so that I can serve and impact others effectively, which means I can keep learning. If I'm still in the land of the living, I don't have to give up. Now I can make a decision at this fork road, at this encounter. There's another word I'm looking for. At this intersection, I can go this way, or I can stay stuck here and I can go to the left, which means a negative direction. I can go right the right way. I know that was corny, but you get the gist of it anyway. So, yes. And then here's another example. Now these, let me see. Oh, this is something that I hear people say a couple of times in my session when I pointed out some strength in them and how they have wit and wisdom that somebody else need to hear. And that's from their own experience. And where I hear them say is, who is going to listen to me? Who will listen to me? Because remember, they're battling beneath that is a lack of self-worth and no value. So there's no confidence, no self-esteem. And you don't think you're worthy of anything. You don't think you have any, you don't think people will listen to you because you're so much, your poor negative self-concept is low. Oh, it's bad period already. So you think that you don't have anything of value to say, or if you do feel like what you're saying is valuable, but nobody's going to listen to you, you shrink, you disassociate, and you minimize. So now you stay in that place and you stay quiet. You are not you're not living like that at all. That is not thriving. That is the opposite of thriving. When you learn to embrace, even if you feel like you're indifferent, you always got something different to say. When you build all of yourself, when you build yourself up, you start not caring about, in a negative way, you're not caring about, in a healthy, positive way, you're not caring about what other people think and say about you. It's like, okay, well, I don't always, and you hear people say, now, people, y'all may disagree, but I just gotta say that this is the way I feel. You know, you no longer apologize for who you are. That is a trauma response. When you always over-explaining and apologizing because what's beneath that? You're trying to feel accepted by people. You want people to love you and like you and embrace you. That's what the underlying thing. Sometimes you don't realize you're doing it. It's not subjective. It is subconscious. You're doing it because of that. You're trying to get people to like you and accept you. When you're still doing that, you'll find yourself over analyzing, over apologizing, overthinking, over explaining. That's a trauma response. Okay? Just in case you didn't know that, that's usually the issue beneath it. That's why I say you got to go to the little girl, little boy. You got to go to or the adult, whatever. You got to go to that stage and where something didn't go right or something was missing, something was broken. There's some trauma that took place. And from that experiences, you never fully develop in that way of healthy emotions, emotional wellness, all of that stuff, right? Okay, so you missing this stuff, but you're getting it now. It's not too late. And this is how you're doing it. You're doing the work. I am so happy. Please let me know in the comments if this is helping you so far. Because I'm only speaking to people that this applies to, that can relate, that this resonate with, okay? For those of you, if it doesn't, thank you so much for tuning in. If you stay, I'm thankful because maybe you can help somebody else with this information. Tag somebody, get somebody, pull them in. Share this with someone. I hope you do like this video. I hope you do subscribe and become part of the Get Your Life Back tribe. Okay? And if you don't want to, it's okay. Share with somebody else. Know why? This is how you help me for free. Liking the videos, as a lot of you know, some of you don't know, because there's some friends of mine, they're not really on social media like that. So I tell them why I asked them to like and share. And they didn't know because they're not on, like I said, they don't do content or anything. They go, oh, I didn't know that. Yes, when you like and you subscribe and you comment, it tells the algorithm on YouTube that, oh, somebody's interested in this. We need to show this to more people because this can help somebody else. But basically, they show it to more people. And so there's more exposure. That's what makes your view count go up and increase. Because the more engagement they see on a channel or on a video, they push it out to more people. You can create a channel, a podcast, or anything, and you can have some deep stuff. It's life transforming. But if you don't get the views, if you don't get the engagement, they would keep your video kind of like way down in the thousands. It'd be other people talking about the same thing that's getting all of the exposure because they got more views. And now they start gaining traction and they start moving up higher on SEO, search engine optimization. And so their videos start to show more on higher and you can see them on suggestion. When you go on YouTube and you see videos that they suggest you to watch. You want to be high up there. So what I'm saying is I would like more people because I know somebody needs to hear this. It may not be you, but somebody else needs to hear this. Let's help them see this by supporting my channel. That's what I want to say. Okay, that's my new plug in. Let's go back. I know it's getting good and I got off and I don't want to distract you. Let's get back. Okay, so why would anybody listen to me? Let's reframe that. My unique experience and perspective can resonate with those who are currently where I once was. I just kind of said that in a nutshell in a way when I was talking about my channel. I have a voice that can make a difference. Tell yourself that. Although you may not be for everyone, you are for someone, or there's a nation of people that will resonate with what I say and how I think. My philosophy, my messages, my narrative, my storytelling, my content. It will appeal to somebody. That's what you tell yourself instead of saying, why would anybody listen to me? Nobody take what I say of any value. You know how many people I've heard said that? Even family and friends. That's what their core belief is. So I noticed those who do say that, they don't do a lot of social, or if they do some social activities, they kind of shrink in the room. They don't interact as much, or it takes them a long time to warm up because, again, a part of them don't feel as accepted, or see, sometimes they don't know this and they might say, no, that's not why. It is why. Fear is the root of a lot of things that the reason why we don't do certain things. Fear that came out of some kind of traumatic experience or a deficit or something. It's a fear that you're not going to fit in or you're not going to get along. And it may be subconscious, you don't realize you're doing this because it became habitual. But this is what's happening. So, but you tell yourself, because you're going to make yourself feel good. We got to make ourselves feel good and everything. So we may say, now here's the false narrative we tell ourselves. Oh no, I'm just not a social person. I'm introvert. I mean, you could be introvert, but there's a difference between introvert and disassociating because you don't feel that you fit in anyway. But instead of saying that, you want to make yourself feel good. You'll go, oh no, I'm just not real social. I just listen. I just watch. The majority of the people I heard say that, because I'm a watcher too. And I know people who are introvert, but they don't have issues with socializing. They have good social skills. They just are people watcher because they like to, because they're informative, they're thoughtful, and they like to think and process before they react because they have a healthy way. They have a healthy emotional management system. Let's put it that way. They don't like to be quick to misjudge, so they don't want to use poor judgment. They want to get information, so when they do speak, it's something of substance because they have research, they have analyzed, they are thoughtful about things, and they're critical thinkers, which you learn to be when you educate yourself, when you read, when you study, when you do research. You become a critical thinker, and you want to make sure you're saying something that's helpful. You have those people, and they're just more quiet and more introvert, but not because they're shy, because shy means there's a fear there. We're scared of something. Now, you need to go do some research. I'm telling you, I'm telling you some truth here. That's the root cause of, I'm just shy, I'm just scared. You're uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable feeling. You're uncomfortable for a reason. You're shy for a reason. Now, I don't have to be some big thing that hold you back in life. Some people have enough. They know they're shy, but they work through it. That's what makes you functional and healthy. So it doesn't mean we don't have these things. If we're aware of it, right? You got some awareness, but you're not going to let it cripple you and stifle you from moving ahead or socializing and engaging and living and thriving in life. You're aware of it. So you work every day to not allow that feeling or emotion or core belief or whatever it is or root hold you back. You work through it. You do the work. Part of the work is reframing. Part of the work is self-talk, telling yourself a different story of what's happening. Instead of going in like, oh, I'm usually shy. It takes me a while to get comfortable. I got to feel that people are for me or they're going to see my value. Sometimes that's what you're saying. You're not saying it verbally, but that's what your nonverbals are saying. That's what your underlying narrative is actually saying. But sometimes you don't know that, or you may be aware. Okay. So you reframe it and you say something different. You engage. You'll take some small steps. Maybe you'll start off with finding one person you connect with. Your eyes connect for a moment and you start a conversation. Those are strategies that people do all the time. You may do this already. And then after that, you get more comfortable. And then another person to come in to, now you're in a group. Now there's 3 people. Now there's 4. Now you may even feel bold to address the room. Maybe there's a conversation. You got a word of knowledge about something and you got an understanding and you feel like I'm comfortable now. I want to share. That's all I'm saying. So this is not nothing against that. This is this saying how you work through these things. We all have, I believe most of all of us have maybe insecurities in some places, or have had insecurities, or may gain new ones later because of whatever reason. Maybe you feel like I don't know enough about something. And so you're a little insecure in that area because you know that, like I can go back to when I dropped out. I know there's certain rooms I probably wouldn't be able to really hold a long conversation if it was a whole room full of educated people who got their master's and doctorate degree. If I never went back to school, I probably would battle with a little bit of that insecure, like, okay, I'm not going to say too much because I'm not going to be able to think critically or really engage in this conversation because I don't know what to say. I don't have enough knowledge or information about it. I may feel a little uncomfortable. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to help you, though. I'm trying to help you. Okay, so that's real talk, right? So we did the reframe about how you can embrace your unique experiences and knowledge and acknowledge that, you know what, somebody else may resonate with this. That's all. And I know it could be a little different. I know that I am opinionated. You know, you may have this is stuff you may tell yourself, but you're embracing it. Because you may see some tendencies that you have and say, oh, yep, I probably am what's the word? Opinionated. Oh, Lord. I may be wordy. I may be long-winded. You accept that already, but you don't let it stop you. You embrace it like, okay. And maybe sometimes you'll pull back and other times you just go on, go in. Okay, so another refrain for why would anybody listen to me? I am learning to trust my voice, because that's what a lot of people are dealing with. They're learning to trust their own voice. After you see your own value, part of seeing your value is learning to trust your own voice and finding your voice and then trusting it and sharing your story, because there are people who need to hear what you have to say. So just say it. And you learn to trust. And the way to learn to trust it, when you say it and finally step out and do it, and you start seeing how those people that your story resonate with, or what you have to say resonate with them, they compliment you, and you start saying, okay, wait, somebody understands me. Okay. This is how you start building trust with your voice and realizing, I got something of substance to somebody. What I say matters to somebody. And you feel more bold to say, to speak more. You got awesome, successful speakers and great thinkers in the world. This is what they do for a living too. They dare to be different. That's how somebody reframed it, by the way. Somebody, I guarantee you, that was somebody who felt and dealt with this kind of insecurity and this core belief. And they turned it around and reframed it and said, they dared themselves to go out and speak. They got bold with it. And they became famous for it. Isn't that awesome? Somebody gonna be blessed by this. It's gonna change your life. So we did that. That's another reframe. You trust in your voice, telling your story. All right, so let's talk about rewriting your story. That is transforming that narrative. I said the story that you create out of your traumatic experiences or out of some deficit or a place of deep need, right? You're going to learn how to, let me make this bigger, make the font bigger so I don't have to be struggling to read it. I had it real tiny, like a size 9 or 10. Rewrite your story. So we're going to transform those narratives. Here's some strategies for that. And these are empowering, right? Because they're life transformation for you as well. Here's an example. I want you to write down, this is an exercise, by the way, I've done with clients. Write down a negative experience or belief that you currently feel or hold. Something that flew up in here. Here's an example. I failed at my business. I'm not cut out to be successful. Just giving examples of things you can kind of write down and learn how to rewrite. We're going to do, it's more reframing, but it's like rewriting it. Okay? Now, write something like that down. If you come up with something else, you could do that. Then I want you to rewrite the same experience through a growth lens. Growth mindset. Some of you heard of growth mindset. Because you're doing this work. Okay? So you're doing the work. Come on now. I'm coaching you right now. Now you're going to rewrite it through a growth mindset and say, my business didn't go as planned, right? Because sometimes we have experienced some failures or mishaps or whatever the case is, but you're not going to stay stuck. You're making a decision to grow from that, get the lessons and do better. My business didn't go as planned, but I gained valuable lessons about resilience, strategy. Let's point out the strengths. Let's point out the value. Some of you have to learn how to do that. You always point out the negative stuff. How about pointing out the strength? How about highlighting some lessons that can come out of it? How you can reframe. That can be a highlight. This is how I'm going to reframe this. This is the spin I'm going to put on this. Like we say in Christendom, what the devil meant for evil, God is turning it around for my good. That's a reframe right there. Catch the wisdom. Okay. So anyway, so you're learning, you gain some valuable lessons about resilience, strategy, and what truly aligns with your purpose. I'm now equipped to move forward with strategy. Strategically. Okay, let's do some more. And I also want to remind you that you are the author of your story. You get to retell and you get to create some new chapters in your life. Hello, somebody. You get to write some new chapters in your life. That is a nugget. I don't even have to explain that. Catch it, get it, marinate. Okay, let it resonate with you. Now, here's something else another example of a narrative you may have told yourself, and then you're going to rewrite this in a different way, right? Because it may be something that really did happen. But I don't want you, instead of putting a negative spin on it, the type of negative spin that would keep you stuck, you're going to put a positive spin on it that'll propel you to move forward. Because what do I do as a certified life purpose coach? What is my motto, guys that follow me? I help you overcome barriers to help you propel into your purpose. So I help you overcome breakthrough. I like to use that word. I help you break through barriers to help you propel into your purpose. That's what we're doing right now. You're getting what I do, a lot of what I do in sessions. This is your session. This is your breakthrough moment. Lord of a breakthrough. Okay. Anyway, okay, so this is a saying you may tell yourself, or you may write something like this down similar. I always mess up things. Okay? So now what we're going to do, when instead of saying, and all of these are disruptors, by the way. You are disrupting. Remember I said you're redirecting? You're redirecting the story you tell yourself. You're redirecting those negative thoughts. You're disrupting. And this is how I help my clients when I'm doing counseling and coaching. This is a strategy to help them deal with ruminating thoughts, negative ruminating thoughts that keep going over and over again in their head. And it make them feel bad. And then they become triggered and then they start feeling bad and they go into a depression. So now we're disrupting. We are dismantling. That's what we do. We are redirecting. You're giving a new meaning. Come on now, because now you're empowered. Now you are the disruptor of the negative. So what was meant for evil, you're making it good. And you're making it work for you. You're putting a new spin on it. So you are interrupting, you're distracting. And this is what I usually help my clients work through. Teach them how to distract those thoughts. Let's break it up. Let's shut it down for a moment. Whatever it takes to stop that frame of thinking and set you on another path, another thought path. Now, so if you're that person that's similar to this, I always mess up things. This is how you're going to disrupt it or interrupt it. This is called, first of all, this is another strategy we use. It just came to me and it just left. I've been having these moments since I've been dealing with the menopause. But it's a whole framework. Oh my God. Anyway, it's called Putting Your Thoughts on Trial. Thank you. It is by Socrates philosophy. Socratic thinking is what it's called. Thank you, Lord. It's coming back to me. I do this all the time. It's Socratic thinking. Socratic thinking is putting your thoughts on trial. It's a method that comes from Socrates, putting your thoughts on trial. So now you're going to ask yourself, this is when you ask yourself questions. Because now you're going to hold that thought up on trial and find the evidence. Where did that come from? Who said this stuff? So you are putting your own self on trial. This is some more homework for you. This is what you're doing. What evidence do you have that says this is true, that you always mess up stuff? Now you got to go dig and do some research. Point out some things that hold that to be true. Now you may have fumbled some things and mess up. There may have been some failures. But to tell yourself you always, or you're going to always do that, you stop yourself. So maybe you can embrace, I fumbled this, I did A, B, C, and D, but you're not saying it in a way that's just not going to allow you to move forward in life. You're looking at it, but you're going to learn the lessons, right? And you're going to do better. Or you're going to see why. Maybe something, again, you got to go to the root. You never was given opportunities when you was younger, maybe to do things, to prove yourself to yourself and to achieve some things. You was given those opportunities. So you don't trust yourself. You don't trust your voice. You don't trust yourself to do right. And you just stay with the narrative. I just mess up everything. It's okay. I don't want to do it because all I'm going to do is mess it up anyway. And so what you do is avoid, and you let other people go ahead and move on, and you stay behind. You never graduate from that frame of thinking and those behaviors. And so you're going to put that thought on trial. And because sometimes it's just a lie. Most of the time it's a lie. And you don't always mess up stuff. Why do you think you always? And you'll find out when you do the work of putting your thoughts on trial, it may be 2 or 3 incidents where something happened and it didn't go well. But then you gotta, again, the reason why it's a lie, because you go deeper and say, but why did I mess that up? Maybe you didn't have enough information. Maybe somebody did something negative to you and you don't have the confidence or whatever it is, right? That's the real reason. You see where I'm going? Not because you can't do anything right and you just always gonna mess stuff up. It's because of this, A. And now that you understand it was because of A and B, now you're going to fix that. You're going to go back and rewrite, change the narrative, all those things. And then you start feeling like, I could do some things wrong. Wait, I don't always mess everything up. Part of this, again, intervention is finding out what happened, why some things, or you messed up some things. But you're also going to point out things you do right. That's the other part of the intervention, that in your own work. Find out the things you do right. And this is going to prove that that narrative you told yourself is a lie. It is wrong. You do not always mess things up. There's something you've done right in your life. There's something you've done that was good, that was right. And so that will no longer hold any weight. Do you see where I'm going? I'm helping you right now. That no longer holds weight and keeps you crippled and stuck in avoidance mode. Because now you can point out, well, when I did this, now that came out right. When I planned this event for this person, when I planned this shower or this party, when I created this, help somebody work through something, that came out right. So now you can go back and go, wait a minute, then it's not true. I don't always mess things up. I've done something right in my life. You get where I'm going? I hope that helps somebody. Okay. So now, here's a coaching tip. Write down, and I just kind of went into this, but I actually created a prompt. It's funny how everything has just come together. I'm encourage you to write down 3 positive truths that counter that negative thought you told yourself. And I want you to get in the habit of doing this on a daily basis. Because some of you need to do this deep work continuously. It don't stop. Some of you don't battle with this a lot. Maybe once in a while this pop up, you had some negative experience, and it may try to bring up an old thing or old core belief about yourself. But some of you, this is every day. You don't feel good about yourself, and you don't think well of yourself, and you always have unhelpful thoughts. You need to do this work every day. Okay? So I want you to write down the positive truths that you uncovered and discovered and came to the realization and the revelation of. You're going to write that thing down, because what's going to happen? It's going to counteract all that negativity and those lies you told yourself based on a few incidents. But now you just created a whole thing. I'm just always. So you're going to learn to remove those words. You always, that's why that's never good to use in an argument with, especially somebody you love and you trying to grow a healthy relationship, whether it's a parental relationship or marital or friendship or professional. When you use that word a lot to point out something, that's negative. So you can't be shocked when you cause somebody to be on the defense, because what you have done was you hurt somebody else. So naturally they may come back defensively. And now you're going back and forth, and now there's an argument or a fight. So when you realize that's unhelpful, you learn not to do it for yourself first, right? Because again, when you don't love yourself, you don't know how to treat other people, love other people. But when you love yourself and value you learn to love and value other people. And it starts with this kind of work. And so you take out those things that are triggering, like you always do that. You never get anything right. You tearing somebody else down because of your own traumatic experiences. This is how you project those things onto other people. But when you do this work, you're aware that you can do that, and you pull it back like, ooh, let me not, because I know what it feels like. I know when it happened to me, how it made me feel. Now you also develop and increase your level of empathy. You start thinking about how other people may feel. You try to put yourself in other people's shoes. Like that's something you would do daily, and that increases your level of empathy and compassion. So first you have to, all of this is teaching you how to give yourself self-compassion and grace. Takes away shame and guilt. You giving yourself mercy. And then once you do this, you do it for somebody else. The Bible even says with the same mercy that God gives us, we ought to give somebody else that same level of mercy. Oh my God. Okay. That's that. Let's move down. So this has turned out to be longer than I had planned. But that's what happens. Okay. Let's do some more redirection with a more balanced statement. I've made mistakes, but I've also learned valuable lessons that are making me wiser and stronger. You see that positive spin? You see how you get the lesson out of these experiences you're having? Because you are redirecting, you're reframing, you do all of this at the same time. You're being Socratical in your thinking. You putting these things on trial. They no longer hold weight. You're going to tell yourself a different story. That way you won't get that crummy feeling again. You're like, bud, okay, all right. And so you become wiser and stronger because you learn some valuable lessons. You embrace the mistakes. Yeah, but you know what? I can't do A, B, C, and D going forward. Number 3, kind of on the same lines, dismantling negative core beliefs, challenging the root. So we still on that. We're challenging the root reason why you do what you do, why you say what you say. Here's another example. I got some scenarios for you. If your core belief is, I'm not good enough. That's the other one. I'm not good enough. Now you saying that point blank period. I'm not good enough. Now I just gave you some other exercise to do. So you still doing those exercises. It's going to help you with this negative core belief. And story you told yourself, I'm not good enough. You're not saying I'm not good enough at that. Even though even that's something maybe you can learn, or maybe it's something else for you. You don't have to do that. But you're stopping at I'm not good enough. Now you're going to write down evidence that supports that negative core belief. That's what you're going to do. Maybe something failed, a failed project, something messed up again, whatever. You're going to write that down when you think of those things. Then all the evidence then you're going to write down. This is something I did a lot I do a lot with my clients, and I've done in the past. I'm thinking of people. I see myself in the room and talking to particular people, and I remember telling them to do this because I want them to be disruptors of this negative stuff. You're going to also write down evidence that contradicts that you are not good enough. Remember, we just talked about it. You're going to point out some stuff that you have done that's good. So, and part of that, you're going to write down past successes. You're going to see your values and your strength and your skill set, which I talk about on this channel all the time. So you're going to write down some things that failed, that didn't work out too good. You might have fumbled here and there, but you're also, because we ain't stopping there. That's the problem now. You stop at the failed things. I'm moving you over to point out things that you did well, things you got complimented on, past successes. You're going to look and see what skill set you have and draw from that. And you're going to see your strength. And you're going to get in a habit. You see how you're changing? You're getting in a habit of seeing the strength and not focusing on the failures or failed things or, weaknesses. Here's a reframe. Rewrite that core belief. Here's a balanced statement for that. You're going to come back with this. I may have not achieved every goal yet, but I am capable. You see how you're changing the language? You're saying you are capable. Where before you was just like, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. But now you're saying, I can. I'm capable. Okay, now let's finish this. I may not have achieved every goal, but I am capable. I'm growing. I am committed to learning from my every experience. You're seeing the lessons. Now you're learning to see the lessons in everything. Okay, you know what? I didn't do that right. So next time, if I find myself in the same situation, here's what I'm going to do. You see how that's productive? That's thriving. That's problem solving. Yeah. Here's another coaching tip. I want you to have a journal. Journaling is good. I talk about it all the time, and you've heard this before, but I want you to see the power in journaling. But I want you can create a journal. You can buy a journal, but I have journals as well. And I'm going to create a link for you to have a wins journal, a winning journal, something like that. I got to figure out a name for it. But I do have a journal called the Purpose Passion Finder Journal. If you go to Get Your Life Back Academy or CherylWhiteHoward.co, you'll be able to buy that journal. But I'm thinking, and probably by the time you see this episode, I already created a journal to go along with this episode. And that link will be in the description box, okay? So look in the description box for giveaways, freebies that I have, because I want you to have to help you. And then I have some things for selling. I have some courses and some programs. But look for the freebies in the description, okay? Where's my tissue? Oh, here we go. Excuse me, guys. Okay. So I want you to create a journal. I want you to have a journal, whatever it is, or journal things down. Get a book, get a whatever. And I want you to document your small and large successes, because I want you to reinforce the new empowering core beliefs that you have developed because you just did all of this work. I'm done. Please point out something, because I need to know. This helps me to help you. If you got anything out of this, I want you to put it in the comment section. I want to know. And it also will inform me going forward of more. I can start thinking about the type of content I need to make that's going to be very helpful for you. And it also shows me what your needs are and the type of people that are listening, that are tuning in. This is how you help me. I told you we help each other. We help each other in life. Nobody's an island. And so this is how you help me improve or continue what I'm doing, operating in my purpose and my passion, because I'm here to help you. This whole channel was created to help other people. This whole channel was actually started because after my therapeutic relationships, meaning my clients, I'm no longer working with them. We finished working or whatever. Even in my professional career as a mental health professional, and then in my business as a life purpose coach, when we finished working with each other, they wanted to stay connected. They wanted to continue to get strategies. And that's the hard thing about working in this field. You know, you become a very instrumental part of somebody else's life, their journey, their healing, and their growth journey. And people want to stay connected to you. Now, we know we have to keep professional boundaries. And sometimes you may develop certain friendships later on down the line. There's like a timeline for that stuff when you're in the field of human services, mental health, all that. And usually it's like 2 years or more, whatever. But anyway, that can happen naturally, organically. But in the meantime, professionally, because you have poured into that person's life, it's natural for somebody to develop affection for you. And I mean in a healthy way. And that's other experiences, because sometimes we can confuse things, or not even confuse things. It's like you can really develop a admiration or attraction for somebody that helps you. These things happen in life, right? You hear stories of, and I'm not saying do this, but it happens in the workplace. Somebody has a client, somebody has a patient. There's a connection there. The professional thing to do is either, if you want to pursue something, you need to redirect that person to work with somebody else, or whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, whoever, a teacher, whatever the case is, right, of age. And that's one way to solve the problem, because, people marry their secretaries and this and that. You hear that. But you have to find a professional way to deal with that situation. You don't want to overstep boundaries. But we know it happens sometimes. But where was I? People want to stay connected with you. People wanted to stay connected with me. And so how the idea that came to me was, you know what? I'm going to make a YouTube channel where I can continue to provide strategies, life hacks. That's what gave me the purpose of developing my coaching practice. In that way, I can stay connected with some of my clients that I help even with counseling, but then I can also work with new people. So this channel was based on that. It was created because of that. That was my thought process at the time. It has matured and then turned into some other thing. But it's still the core. I still do what I was doing from the beginning of it. And so I just wanted you to know that little bit of history right there. So I hope this was very helpful. But I want to know if I help you with anything on this particular episode and maybe another episode. You help me to help you. And that's all I got to say. If you want to know more about me, like I said, go to CherylWhiteHoward.co. You can go to Get Your Life Back Academy. You can go to udemy.com and see my courses on healthy relationship, purpose, passion, find a guide, where I help you to discover what your passion and purpose is. And then I have a course on there on how to brand and market your passion and your purpose. Turn it into a brand. How to monetize it and make money doing what you love to do. That's what I'm doing. And I even pursued a career based out of my passion and purpose. That's what made me choose human services. So I'm telling you what I've done for myself. All right, guys, I am done. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you stopped by. I hope you become part of the tribe. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Hit the bell so you can receive those notifications of new uploads. I'm trying to do everything back to Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday, I usually upload, or it goes live, put it that way, because everything I schedule, unless I'm doing something live, of course, usually between 10 and 11. So usually like 10:30, I'll have a video that goes live at that time. And then on Thursdays, mostly around 6 o'clock, that's when another video goes live. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Love you.
Get your life back. Get your life